simpatico. Anyway, learn as we go. Let's talk about the word of the day. We're all about Gothic fiction here, and also a little bit of the surreal. And I'm an author, illustrator, and I also am a history professor. I focus on ancient history. But without further ado, let's talk about the word of the day. The word of the day is Corvus. Corvus. Interesting word of the day in a Gothic fiction live stream show. What does Corvus mean? Anyone know? Anyone guess? It's used in family names. It's used in first names. And it's also used for a family of an animal, a type of bird, to be more exact. There's a type of bird that the Latin is used for this bird. Matter of fact, Corvus, if you pronounce it Corvus in Latin, of course, where we get the name for many family and species that we use with modern evolutionary biology, they use, of course, the ancient Latin. And Corvus, to be more precise, we don't know the exact pronunciation and dialect in Latin, or various versions of Latin. But we do know that the V shape, like we see the word Corvus there on the screen, that would have been pronounced a little more softly, we think, with the ancient Romans. So they would have said something a little more similar to Corvus instead of Corvus. So I have studied the classics, mainly ancient Greek language, but I have studied some Latin. As a matter of fact, I studied Latin in high school for 2 years, which was awesome. If you ever get to take Latin in high school, it's pretty awesome. I've actually substitute taught where I used to live before I moved recently. I used to substitute for a Latin high school class. It was awesome, man. Really great kids. Had a lot of fun. Ancient language is just incredibly fun. If you study Latin, it can be very functional. Very functional. Any branch of biology, human biology, plant, animal. They use Latin for classification for many things, science-related. But Corvus, anyone guess? Corvus, what does it mean? It's actually the name for crow. The ancient Romans, their name for the crow was in the nominative form, singular. Corvus, or Corvus. You hear of the name Corwin, and that's referring to the same root word of Corvus or Corvus. And yes, the crow, probably the most popular bird of the Gothic fiction genre, is the crow. Now the bat, of course, not a bird, but it's a flying beast, and competes heavily with the crow. And let's do a little survey. The crow versus the bat. Which one more symbolizes the genre of Gothic fiction? As you know, the genre of Gothic fiction. You don't have to speak for the whole genre. What do you think what's more goth? What's more Gothic, the bat or the crow? Feel free to explain yourself. I think that's a very tight competition. But let's just talk about birds, just briefly. I'm just curious what you guys think out there. What if the crow is the most popular bird in Gothic fiction, that most symbolizes, that is most simpatico with the Gothic fiction genre? What would be the second most popular bird trope after the crow? What would it be? I have a guess. I'll give you a couple seconds to make your guess, though. What would it be? The crow? Then what? What would be the second most well-known trope regarding birds in the Gothic fiction genre? Okay, well, here's my answer. Let's see if it matches yours. The owl. Creature of the night, very unique. You can turn its head around like The Exorcist on the movie The Exorcist, like Reagan did, which is a very appealing trait for a bird. It's predatorial. You can see in the dark. And it's used quite a bit in Gothic fiction, whether it's visual or in written form. Probably the owl, right? What are some other birds, though, just real quick, that you would... I often, in my own illustrations, I often like to draw the vulture. Just because it has that wicked angle to its beak. It's got that sinister look to its body in general, but its head and neck are both kind of shriveled, and they look like ancient, evil creatures. Carrion birds they are. But also, here's another bird that, because of the movie Exorcist, I think can have a lot to do with Gothic fiction. And it's not just the Exorcist that has this bird, but it's a cardinal. The cardinal is blood red. Well, at least the males are. Male cardinals are blood red. And it's a symbol of the demon in The Exorcist. But I can't think of the name, but there's a cardinal in another sort of late 19th century Gothic fiction short story. I'll have to find that. But yeah, the cardinal, for some reason, to me, just to me, it's has a little bit of a Gothic fiction ring to it. But, all right. Enough about birds. It's for the birds, I suppose. We didn't even get into Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, but maybe some other time. I write horror and what I call strange short stories. Sometimes my short stories are not based on horror or suspense, but a strange twist on things. What else can I say about that? I'll be reading some of my short stories in the future, and I'm currently making my first submission to a literary journal, and I'll give you guys updates when that happens. So I'm currently working on a novel, and I'm going to show you the synopsis for this. So I'm going to switch over, and let's hope it works. The name of the novel, the illustration on the right of the screen is the novel I'm working on, Possessions of Putrescence. It takes place in the late 19th century. The series that follows it, this is like a prologue. It's the Hobbit to the Ring cycle, to the Lord of the Rings series, rather. Possessions of Putrescence is the prelude to the Orgone Forensics series. And Possessions of Putrescence deals with something that's happening in society in this sort of universe where demon possession is rampant among children because they're the most vulnerable. Their souls are most exposed. And Christians, both Catholics and Protestants, view it as demon possession. But the main character in the story, an exorcist by the name of Martin Salzburg, he makes a discovery that challenges that view. And he doesn't believe that they are demons that are possessing children. And the story is based on that foundation there. So let's check it out. Let's take out the word of the day here. Corvus. Crow. And let's check out this intro. Yo.
Possessions of Putrescence by S.M. Dotson. Martin Salzburg, the town exorcist, has developed a strange theory regarding demon possession, too revolutionary to share with fellow Christians. In the small town of Putrescence, Martin discovers a local legend that takes him on a journey to find the ghost of Seymour Downcross, and to discover why the centuries-old villain is using an orphanage for his occult endeavors.
All right, so there we go. There's the synopsis to Possessions of Putrescence, and thanks for checking that out. I'm still in the process of editing the thing, so, and then I have to send it to editors, basically. And, we'll see what happens with that. But I also mentioned that I'm an illustrator, and the illustrator on the right there the illustrator. The illustration on the right, I did that one. That's sort of just the background image I'm using right now, but there are some common themes in that illustration that I use. It's night, but you can still see the wind and the cloud-covered sky. There's a little crow on that wall. There's also that moon in the upper right. I like to draw the moon. I don't always put a face on it, but I like to draw the moon as if it's kind of invasive, like it's a little bit closer to the planet than what it really is, and it's shining light down, almost like a spotlight on the paranoid figure in the illustration. And then something else I want to point out about this illustration is that you see the wall, and then you see that column, and you see like a potted plant, and the plant is actually extremely thin and dehydrated. I try to include sort of dead, dehydrated vegetation in a lot of my illustrations. But let me show you guys right now a preview for my first illustrations to be published. This is basically a partnership with James Bryant. He's the blind poet of Central Missouri, and he currently is writing dark haiku, and so my illustrations pair with that well. And so I've got 30 illustrations and to pair with 30 haiku. And eventually I'll talk about that book more, and maybe we'll have an interview with James Bryant. And when it comes out, we'll drop a link down there so you guys can check it out. But here is the promo, kind of an early promo. It still needs to be updated because there are some new images. But here's the promo for James Bryant's Dark Haiku.
Inside a black hole, a planet of pain, painful, galaxies of tears.
Okay, so there you go. James Bryant's Dark Haiku, Book 1. There are many more books to come from that series. He's going to have different illustrators, but I've had the unique pleasure of being the first in the series. So yeah, it took me about a year to do all those illustrations. There are 30 of them, and what I decided to do with those is instead of filling the entire page with image, I actually cropped them, and so they each exist as their own tarot card. So they're basically images that are their own tarot card, 1 through 30. So that the effect turned out very nice. So I'm glad that happened. But I'll talk about that more. And let's see. Let's move on. Let's talk about some other things. Let me check my notes here. I was going to mention something about my writing. Some of my major influences for Gothic fiction are Ambrose Bierce, H.G. Wells, Lovecraft, Hawthorne, M.R. James, and really the classical ones I enjoy quite a bit. Gothic fiction as a genre has been around for a very long time. According to some, it actually is older than the Romance movement itself, the Romantic movement. And so it's said that Gothic fiction is a subgenre of the Romantic movement, which I agree that it is, but it's a little bit anachronistic in that Gothic fiction can be seen to exist, or at least foreshadow, the Romantic era poets and authors and illustrators. So I think it's kind of interesting, but we'll go through a history of that more later. But I like to write not just novels and short stories, but I also like to write really short, strange and horror-based fiction. And so there are different categories depending on the length of a particular piece of fiction. And I wanted to talk about those briefly because I think they're kind of interesting. I don't know. So a short story, in general, they're just general guidelines. They're not hard, strict numbers. A short story has at least 1,000 words, it's often said. Flash fiction is just 500 words or less, and that's a pretty short story right there. That's a short story. Microfiction is 300 words or less, no more than 300 words, and you get microfiction. That's very short. I like writing microfiction, though. It's almost like a extremely short episode of The Twilight Zone in many cases. You get in, you get out, you know. But there are other categories that are even shorter than 300 words or less, and that is nano fiction, and that's 55 words or less. That's small. That's very tiny. In some cases, that's a paragraph. Can you imagine a horror story or hardcore sci-fi or fantasy written in 55 words or less? Well, there are people that do that, and if you're new to that, you might check it out. You might be pleasantly surprised. Some of them can be quite good. And I've got one that I created just kind of as a joke. I call it monofiction. And so I'm the only author of monofiction in the world that I know of. And monofiction is one-word fiction. And so I've got the first monofiction horror story. And I'll read that out loud right now. So the first monofiction one-word horror story by S.M. Dotson. Here it is. Boo! Thank you. Thank you very much. That's monofiction horror. If you can think of other monofiction stories, please leave that in the comments section or in the chat. So yeah. What else should we talk about? I think I'm going to show you some more previews of some really interesting projects. Let me switch over. Make sure everything's working. The logo on the right. That logo is for the short story that I'm submitting right now to a literary journal called The Devil's Pipe. So let me play a recording I did. I'm doing a reading of a very short story called Room in the Car. Takes place very, very early 20th century, possibly late 19th century. Very, very short, almost microfiction. So let me play that right now. Room in the Car.
The Farmer and His Daughter, or Room in the Car, by S.M. Dotson. The farmer was accustomed to living a hard life. He had a family, but now he only had a daughter. She was a nice girl. She turned 11 in August, but she scared off the wife and older children when she was only 8. They had enough. She had episodes of violence, and the farmer didn't know when they were going to happen. The incident that drove away his wife was when little Lucy slit the throats of all their hogs. Ma ran out with a light, then told the kids to get in the car after she saw Lucy with the bloody knife. All of the kids, except Lucy, who was covered in blood, piled into the car. Lucy reached a blood-stained hand for the handle, but Ma had locked the door. The kids refused to make eye contact with her. They just sat there, looking ahead as Ma backed up and then drove around Lucy, down the dirt road, and never returned. The kids looked at Lucy's bloody handprints on the right rear window and were speechless. Paul had to explain to Lucy why they left without her. He finally said, "There wasn't enough room in the car." The next evening, she wondered why they did not come back. A month later, she asked Paul if she could go visit Ma, saying she missed Ma deep down in her chest.
Pa said she would look for her. He drove off in his truck after breakfast and returned later that day. Pa said he couldn't find them, but Lucy recognized the scent of her mother's perfume. When Lucy turned 13, she found a letter in the mailbox addressed to someone in the next town from her pa. It was addressed to Marilyn Ball. There was something familiar about the name. Lucy opened the letter. In it was a check from her father. The line for the recipient's name was blank. Marilyn Ball. Lucy remembered that her mother's two favorite actresses were Marilyn Monroe and Lucille Ball. She got onto her father's tractor and drove to the address on the letter. She saw her father's truck parked in front of the 10-4 bar. She drove past it onto the main dirt road to Derby town. Lucy found the old farmhouse on County Road HH. She saw the family car in the parking lot. She went inside, drank some milk from the refrigerator, and took a knife from the rack by the gas stove. She found two of her sisters sleeping in a shared bed and cut their throats. She found her mother's bedroom and stood in the doorway. She could smell her mother's perfume. She saw her cosmetics on a small desk with a yellowed mirror attached to it. "Ma?" she asked into the dark room. Ma jumped out of bed and turned on the light. She saw the blood on the front of Lucy's dress and took a step back. "What have you done?" asked Ma. "I just wanted," said Lucy, "to make room in the car for me." Strange Tales by S.M. Dotson.
There you have it. Room in the Car by S.M. Dotson. So let's preview some more material. And I'll be in the background pouring myself some coffee, listening along. Let me know what you think. Let me know about yourself and your own favorite authors in Gothic fiction. Or horror, or whatever. Start a conversation, ask a question, come up with an idea. Let me know. Don't be embarrassed to use the chat line. And we're going to talk about all things Gothic fiction. The word of the day. Do you remember what it was? Remember what it is? The word of the episode? Corvus. It's Latin for crow. All right. You've heard Room in the Car. You saw a preview for James Bryant's Dark Haiku, along with illustrations. And you heard the synopsis for my upcoming novel, Possessions of Putressa. And now let's go to a more ancient history side of Gothic fiction, where those two meet. We're going to explore the topic of speaking to the dead. And this is from a channel that I host. It has to do with history, ancient history in particular, but other areas of history. I put some of my lecture material there, and I make shows. And this channel is called Ancient Light. Now, this particular episode, which is available on the Ancient Light YouTube channel, I'm going to play right now for you. It's not super long. And again, you might hear me pouring my coffee and consuming it in the background. I'll be here with you listening along. This particular show on Ancient Light is called how to speak to the dead. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll be right back with you at the end of this short episode, and we'll talk a little bit about comedy. We'll have a variety show that I'm going to play. I'm going to talk about soul transference and the Illuminati and that sort of thing, and do some stand-up comedy. And a segment known as Ponder This, which I like very much. All right, guys. How to speak to the dead.
She was taken from you too early. You just want to speak to her again and tell her how much you miss her. I can help. Meet me here at midnight. Oh, bring a good shovel. Ancient light. Nakuya. How to speak to the dead. To the dead. To the dead. To the dead. Alright, ready? Dig a square hole in the ground 1 cubit by 1 cubit square. What do you mean, what is a cubit? Here, I'll ask my eye Herm. Hermes, how long is a cubit?
18 inches. Why don't people worship me anymore? No, wait, don't go.
Okay, dig a hole 18 inches square. Did you only bring 1 shovel? Alright, now I add the wine, the milk, some honey. Now we slice the throat of this goat. Okay, now we have to make sure we don't let the floating heads swarm around our sacrificial blood. Alright, now we need to call the deceased by name. Don't talk to anyone else who might appear. The dead love that fresh blood for some reason. Ancient light. This ancient method for speaking with the dead comes from Homer's Odyssey. The powerful witch Circe instructs Odysseus on the specific formula for consulting the greatest seer the Greeks have known. The problem is that he is dead, and so Odysseus must use Circe's knowledge to speak with the blind seer Tiresias. This section of the Odyssey is known as the Nakuya. Nakuya is a word which signifies the right of contacting the dead, but it also refers to the ancient Greek genre of literature which involves the rite. Classical Athenians would call Book 11 of the Odyssey, which we are talking about, the Nakuya. The word is similar to the word nakus in ancient Greek. Another version of the same word is nekros. They both refer to the dead. But with this word, do not think merely in terms of the corpse, but a nekus and nekros can also refer to the dead spirit in the underworld when it's in its plural form. An essential ingredient in this rite involves the power of blood. Blood to the dead has a drug-like effect. It gives them a sense of life again, something they are longing for. The living can use blood to bargain with resistant dead folk. They're craving that blood. And Circe tells Odysseus to keep them away. And Odysseus does this by drawing a sword and swinging it at them. With this ritual, not only are we using the proper ingredient, there's also a square hole dug into the ground, which somehow creates a vessel for the ingredients, as well as possibly a portal. Perhaps by doing this, Odysseus is creating a microcosm of the underworld. Therefore, its similarity, its sympathy with the underworld is greater, and so therefore it's a sort of an active sympathetic magic. And that's a term you can look up if you want to understand how sympathetic magic works. Life in the underworld, as we know from Homer's Nicaea, life is not very pleasant down there. Achilles, for example, rules his own kingdom in the underworld, but he would give it up just to live again for a short while. So there's something to the life we mortals have which is invigorating. There's life in blood, not just humans, but living animals, that are very appealing to the dead, but also to the gods. So blood seems to have a real power in other worlds. It's something special that we have. Perhaps the gods are just harvesting us as blood bags, or maybe something more. But we are mortals, and we only have it so long, and once our time is up, we will be in Hades and wishing we had some flowing blood once again. One could make comparisons to the vampire legend. One could say that a vampire is a human body who is inhabited by the dead who simply crave blood, and they must have blood to still feel alive. It's certainly an interesting variation of the modern vampire myth, which is so popular. In any case, blood is a powerful bargaining tool to the dead as well as the gods. This gives blood doping a whole new meaning. Now I'm going to talk about Odyssey, Book 11, passages 20 through 58 specifically. This is part of the Nicaea of which I speak. In Odyssey, Book 11, we're given a glimpse of a Homeric metaphysics of the dead. It is difficult to say if this specific ritual was a real procedure or only a manifestation of oral tradition. The academic study of ritual and religion is particularly enriched by the detailed procedure to evoke and Odysseus' interaction with the dead in the underworld in these passages. The ritual power of fresh blood and the promise made by Odysseus to sacrifice more in the future is nicely illustrative of ancient ideas about the function of blood in ritual. One of the great points about this selection is that the sacrifice is not a customary sacrifice made to a well-known god. Blood does more than please the ambrosia-eating gods on Olympus. It holds a power and value throughout the worlds of the non-mortal. It would appear through my reading of this translation and through Greek and Roman mythology itself. Blood seems to give the dead a temporary taste of life force. It is ethereal heroin, so to speak. The narrative begins with the beaching of the ship of Odysseus and his crew. Earlier in Book 10, Odysseus asks Circe to help him on his journey, and she instructs him to go to a spot near the grove of Persephone and to consult the ghost of the prophetic Tiresias. The passage ends with a tearful sense of completion. As Book 11 opens, Odysseus and his crew have lost Elpenor, their comrade, due to an unfortunate accident. And the crew is crying because Odysseus is not allowing them to directly journey home. So here is a translation of a section of the Nicaea, so you can hear exactly from the primary source translated into English. And after I read this translation, I'll talk just a tiny bit and then read this in the original Greek. Book 11 of the Odyssey, starting on line 20. When coming to a spot, we beached our ship and took out the sheep. We were going to the current of Oceanus, until we are to arrive at the place which Circe told us, where Perimedes and Eurylochus held the sacrificial victims. I drew my sharp sword from my thigh and dug up a pit as great as a cubit from here to there. Around it I poured a libation to all the deceased, first with mild and sweet wine, the third with water, sprinkling it on white barley meal. I was making much entreat to the powerless heads of the dead. When I go to Ithaca, I will throw a barren cow, she being one of my best, into the sacrificial pyre and fill it with goods. And to Tiresias alone I will sacrifice separately a ram, all black, who was our most outstanding of our fold. Then with these vows and prayers there to the dead, I had made my entreat. Taking those sheep, I cut their throats. Into the pit, dark clouds of blood flowed. The spirits of the dead gathered out of Erebus, young married women, youth, unfortunate old men, tender female virgins having endured sorrow in their hearts, and many who have been wounded by bronze-tipped spears, men killed in war and their armor splattered in blood. The multitudes roamed wildly about the pit, from one place to another. With an unspeakable cry, pale fear was beginning to take me. Therefore and then I called, rousing my companions with the sheep, those sheep which lie there having been slaughtered with the pitiless bronze, to cleave and flay them and to make prayer to the gods, to mighty Hades and dread Persephone. I myself drew my sharp sword from my thigh and sat. I did not allow the powerless head of the dead to go nearer to the blood until I had inquired of Tiresias. The first soul to come was my companion Elpenor, for he had never been buried under the broad-wayed earth, for we left his body in the hall of Circe, unlamented and unburied, since another task urged us on. When I saw him look, I took pity in my heart, crying. And I began speaking, addressing him with winged words. Elpenor, how did you come from beneath the underworld? Coming on foot, you have been faster than me with my black ship. End of the English translation. So I'll finish the show by saying thank you for tuning in. I will now read the original Greek from which this translation came. If you don't stay for the entire thing, thanks for listening to Ancient Light, Episode 9. Now I must preface this reading by saying that with Homer's works, the poem follows a specific meter as it is read aloud. I will not attempt to follow the proper meter. Instead, I will pronounce the words slowly in Greek so you can try to make out words you might recognize. While we do not know how ancient Greeks pronounce the words exactly, I will attempt to follow certain standards you will find in a course on Attic or Koine Greek. Some words, like the word Circe, do not quite sound the same in Greek. Her name in Greek sounds more like Kirke. There's that pesky English use of the snake C instead of the Greek and Latin hard C. My previous Ancient Light show titled Jesus and Julius Caesar explained this phenomenon. I recommend looking at the English text below this video and follow along. It is fun to hear the Greek words you might recognize. Sometimes you will only recognize the root of a word, like Naku in line 26, which referenced the deceased, the word I already spoke about. The word, for example, ego means I, as in I am. It's a Greek word Freud borrowed, and so it is our modern word ego. The word suke is Greek for life or breath of life or soul, and you'll hear that root sound a lot. And the word xephos means sword. In the text below the video, I left a link if you want to follow along reading the Greek letters as I read. Here is a portion of Homer's Nakuia, read in the original Greek. Nea min inthel thontes ekel samen ek de ta mela helome thautoi de haute para chroon Oceanoia eomen offres choran afficometh hon frasa kirke inth hiereia min perimedes eurilokos te eskon ego da aor oxu irusamenos parameru bathran arux hasan te hugusian intha kai intha amph auto de kaen keomen pasen nakuesi prota meli creto metapeta de hede oino to tritan auth hudati epi dalfita luca palunan polade gunumen nakuon amenena karena elthon is ith a.
That was from Ancient Light, a channel I host, and that was the How to Speak to the Dead episode of Ancient Light, and talking a lot about ancient Greek in that episode. And so, all right, so let's end this particular segment today with a little bit of comic relief. This is an episode of Humanities of It All from DNL Spoken Word YouTube. That is DNL. D is in devil, N is in night, L is in Lance, DNL Spoken Word. And there's a lot of comedy right now on DNL Spoken Word, and they're really fun to check out. But this is also comic relief. Thanks for tuning in to SM Dotson's Strange Tales. On future episodes, I'll be doing readings of my own works and other works, and just having some fun. And we'll do some Gothic trivia at some point, word of the episode, and we'll come up with some other segments. And if we get some people on the chat line, we can really start having some fun. So here is Humanities of It All. Ian McKellen and the Soul.
The humanity of it all!
The Humanities of It All with Professor Mooney D.
It's the only show I listen to during tea. Would you be with Derry and put the kettle on?
Hey, St. Louis. What's up? Oh! I didn't think I'd ever be performing inside of a extremely large Gothic cathedral. Someone told me this is where the Archbishop lives. A lot of people I talk to say they aren't religious, but when I really start asking them questions, they do believe in things like God and the soul. But I always think, wouldn't it suck if the soul was actually discovered? Right? Think about this. If the soul was discovered, most of you are thinking, oh yes, if the soul was discovered, then my faith would be validated and atheists can suck a big one. Right? Yeah. Well, it could be, look on the other side of the coin, it could be really bad. Now, if the soul was discovered, right, your soul was discovered, we'd figure out how to manipulate the soul, right? Like we do with anything else. We would develop soul science. We develop the mechanics of manipulating and discovering the soul. We'd trap it. We'd learn to destroy it. We'd learn to enhance it. We'd learn to combine it. We'd learn to make it into something else, Do we think about it? Do we really want capitalists and the court system deciding the fate of our souls? I mean, think about it. Even worse, what if we find out that soul matter, the soul, can be used for certain pharmaceutical or consumer benefit? It would be harvested from vast fields of humans. You know this. People would sell their souls to pay the mortgage. Dude, think about it. We don't want anyone to discover the soul as an actual substance. Look, maybe that's how the shit goes down, you know? Some corporation or the government finds a way to manipulate the soul. You know, we'd have wealthy people who have their own souls moved to younger bodies. Think about this. Think seriously. You really want the soul to be discovered. Don't try to find the soul. Imagine if we could take a soul and move it to a younger body. You know that's what would happen. That would be the sort of the essence of life extension and immortality. We'd take the soul and move it to a younger body. You know, like you think you're making love to a 20-year-old girl. She's actually a 257-year-old man in his most recent body. Yeah. Can you imagine finding someone who is wise, charming, and youthful, but you're occasionally reminded when you sign official forms and stuff like that. Like, you get married and you happen to see 2 dates of birth. The first birth date was from the late 30s, and she was an old oil mogul from Texas by the name of Bernard or something, who became wealthy enough to purchase a new body from the black market. You met at a bar one day. She seemed, bear with me here, she seemed much more intelligent and experienced than the other girls her age. She orders a cocktail that was famous in the 50s and smokes a Lucky Strike. You think, she's just a hipster of some sort. Yeah. She seems to be independently wealthy, and she isn't interested in my own money. You get to know her. You date. In bed, she seems to know exactly what I want to see and experience. She's like a dream girl. She's so smart and cultured, but young and perky. Oh, yeah. And then a few months into it, she says she has something important to tell you. I'll work on my girl voice here. I'll try to give you something better. Here's a girl impression. Honey, those old photos I have of my dad from Texas who died when I was young? Yeah, you see, my real name is Bernard. And that's not my dad. That's me. And you're laughing. No, it's true. I'm over 100 years old, and I'm actually your great-grandfather. And then she tells you to consider this your inheritance, your quid pro quo. She can keep her wealth, keep it in the family, and you get to bang a younger girl who is way out of your league. I mean, way out of your league. So what if she has the soul of an old man? Any objections? Yeah, I didn't think so. She pulls off her nightgown with her glistening in the moonlight of your, expensive chateau. And so what would you do if you were in, this situation of love and lust? That's right. You'd bang the hell out of your great-grandfather. Come on, be honest. If you really think about it, that would be the ideal lover for anyone. A wise and cultured old man in the body of a young, sweet object of affection, or, in whatever vessel you desire. I don't know, maybe if you're into, large older men with big beards, that's a thing. So, whatever type of genital and or genital delivery system you're into, imagine it contains the soul of a wise but frisky old man, Oh, come on now. I know you're laughing, but you're laughing because it's true. An old man's soul in a pretty young girl's body. She'd know everything. She'd know how to make drinks. She'd know sports stats from the past. She'd have deep views on from previous decades. And, okay, here, let me give you an illustration. Let's go deeper into this rabbit hole. No, come with me. You're coming with me. Come on, you're coming with me. Consider Ian McKellen. The British actor with the booming voice. He played Gandalf in The Lord of the Rings. Come on, you know who he is. I mean, If you could get that wonderful and witty gay man of advanced years into the body of, say, this young lady right over here, 19-year-old Becky McLollypop, let's say her name is, you'd have the best mortal lover conceived. Becky would go with you to the theater, introduce you to her, quote, old friends, and later that night she'd manage your man parts like she had some herself. Come on, admit it. That's ideal. You know what I mean? It seems that Sir McKellen would, having no man bits in the new body, even more eagerly would he seek an outlet for the a priori sexual drive, In simple terms, he and or he once had a John Thomas and liked other John Thomases. But now having no John Thomas, he and or she fondles other John Thomases with twice the zeal. You see what I mean? And by zeal, I mean she leans into that. She leans into that shit. She leans into it. It means she leans into it. You know what I mean? If you lean into something, you really mean it. Hey, let's keep going. If she was menstruating and didn't want sex, this could work to her advantage. She could just turn you off by saying that line she said to the Balrog fire demon when she played Gandalf. Remember that in Lord of the Rings when Gandalf was facing the fire demon, right? Before he fell off that platform, he said, "You shall not pass." I mean, it wouldn't be the same voice, but it'd be sure to stifle your mood, And one day the things are screwed up when you're watching Lord of the Rings and pop a boner when you see Gandalf. After you see Gandalf reappear after falling into the abyss with the fire demon, and he reappears as Gandalf the White, and his hair and his robes are white and he's gleaming. Yeah, that's right. You look down and you got a stiffy and you try to cover it up. Yeah, that's right. You're banging Gandalf. And you're also banging Magneto from the X-Men series as well. You're banging him too. All right, so in conclusion, we should demand a worthy lover be an old man in a younger girl's body. And what if this sort of body switching has been going on for some time now? This is what, come to find out, this is what the Illuminati is all about, preserving rich dudes. What if your girlfriend is actually, say, Hitler? Yeah, what if Hitler, his soul was transported to another body, right? Because maybe he signed up for the Illuminati and by contract he gets a new body once he died. So what if Hitler becomes your girlfriend and you have amazing sex with her and amazing intellectual discourse? You'd be none the wiser especially if she was, say, a Jewish woman. I mean, who would think for a second that was Hitler in this Jewish woman's body? No. What if your wife is actually Elvis Presley in his second body? What if she's Nixon? What if she's actually JFK? There's so much to think about. That's what I think. All right, St. Louis. Thank you. See you, St. Louis. St. Louis. Hey. I'm Rooney D.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Skelly Burrows.
I love my puppy. He came in and bit my girlfriend, and now my girlfriend wants to break up with me. I don't care. The puppy ran out and bit the mailman on the ass. The mailman sprayed him with mace, and the puppy ran his ass in the grass. I don't care. A puppy ain't my favorite shoe. I don't really mind, cause I love my puppy, I love my puppy, I love my puppy. I love this lady, I love my puppy, I love my puppy. Her name is Lady. My puppy ran over my house. My puppy got big and shit in my girlfriend's blouse. Puppy shit on my TV set. I love my puppy, I love my puppy, I love my puppy, yeah. My puppy ate all my Gatorade. My puppy bit the hell out of my maid. My puppy took a piss on my refrigerator and electrocuted its ass. I love my girl cause I love my puppy. I love my puppy. I love my puppy. I love my puppy. You know all that puppy did. I bought a candy bar and he ate it. I killed my puppy. I killed my puppy. I killed my lovely little puppy. I killed my puppy. I killed my puppy. I killed my puppy. Motherfucking piece of shit. I killed my puppy. I killed my puppy. Nah. Die, motherfucker.
Dead. I'm dead. You kill my motherfucking puppy, I'm dead. You kill my motherfucking puppy, I'm dead. You kill my motherfucking puppy, now I'm off. Hallucinogen. Halogen. Light. Show me the way when I come to your fucking face. So I kill the puppy that you eat my motherfucking candy bar. You kill my motherfucking candy bar. You kill my motherfucking puppy. Good. For me and you. Good. For me and you. And kill my motherfucking puppy.
It's a Celebrity New Year.
Oh my god, I really love celebrity. It's so important.
Celebrity Resolution.
This is President Donald. This new year, I want to focus on the 3 M's. Muslims, Mexicans, and militarism. Get rid of the Muslims, get rid of the illegal Mexicans, and build up our military infrastructure. This way we will all feel safer. Classy, real classy.
Celebrity New Year.
This is Reverend Jesse Jackson here. I want all the white people to go back to Europe. Native Americans, African Americans, and Mexicans can live in peace without the aggression and ignobility of the white races.
Celebrity New Year.
I'm getting out of here. Well, this is Barty 5. You want to know what I'm going to do in the new year? I'm going to remake the movie The Ghost and Mr. Chicken. Well, I'm the chicken. Well, I'm getting out of here. It's the ghost of Aunt Bee.
Celebrity New Year. This is Martha Stewart. In the coming year, I will be out on parole, where I will join President Trump's cabinet as domestic goddess of the United States. Since the Donald's wife is not a true American, I will symbolically replace her housekeeping attributes as First Lady. In this new role, your homes will be filled with my designs, or you will be ostracized from your own family and community for lack of patriotism. It's a good thing. Celebrity New Year.
Hi, this is Truman Capote. This new year, I'll be joining psychopathic murderers in their jail cells and see what they do to me. When they cuddle me with me, can I retake that part? Thank you. When they cuddle with me afterwards, give me inside information for my next novel. I give them inside too.
Celebrity New Year.
Sean Connery here. This year I want to come clean. The media likes to criticize me because I admitted to slapping women when they get out of hand. I'm just being nice, you see. When they get out of hands, I give them a new one. Sean Connery here. Happy New Year.
Celebrity New Year.
Yoda, Jedi Master this is. The United States is under the control of the dark side. Stop Darth Vader this year. Stop Darth Donald this year. You must.
But Master Yoda, I am not afraid of Darth the Donald.
Oh, you will be. You will be.
Celebrity New Year.
Come on, boys, let's talk about what we want to do this year.
Hey, I want to go into outer space.
Shut up, Larry, you're already there, numbskull.
Oh. What about me, Mo? Mo, what about me?
What about you?
I want to go. Can I go to space too, Mo?
Sure, here you go.
Hey, Mo, why don't you try to be less violent this year?
What do you mean? I get depressed when I'm not violent. How dare you?
Ow! Sorry, Mo. I don't want you to be in pain. Go ahead, Mo. You can be violent.
Oh, thanks. You're a real pal.
Ow! Ow, Mo. I hope you feel better.
Celebrity New Year.
Hey, this is Mike Tyson. This year, I want to stay in the spotlight. Maybe President Trump will let me head the Athletics Council of the United States of America. If I could get close enough to Vladimir Putin, I'll punch the dick out of his dictatorship, and he won't be a problem anymore.
Celebrity New Year.
President Obama here. This year I want to keep from facing total despair. The enabling of bigotry will be at an all-time high. It will, needless to say, be a shithole for many of us.
Celebrity New Year.
Bill Cosby here. This new year, I would like to talk to President Donald and ask him if he would like to pardon a fellow who, like himself, grabs a vagina he wants and is hated for it for some reason.
Celebrity New Year.
Hey, brother. Hulkamania here. This year, I want my career back. I can't seem to catch a break, brother. What, a man can't rub lotion into his own daughter's ass cheeks? Or call your African-American girlfriend the N-word while making hokey love in the privacy of his own mansion? What's the world coming to, brother?
Celebrity New Year.
You know, when I was young, I used to have a dream of opening a dance club where, like, all races could come together, you know, all European races, well, all Northern European races, well, all Northern Western European races. Well, I mean, English-speaking people and former colonists like American English speakers and Canadians could go. But anybody who speaks English and is white. So, you know, pretty much everybody.
Ponder this. Ponder this.
The greatest obstacle to a king, the nobility. Peasants only revolt for lack of bread. The danger of true democracy is clear. Voters give away their power to the one who can capture their fear. Driverless cars. We will fall asleep and wake up hours away at our destination. Travel in sleep will become unified for those who wish to save time. You must develop the ability to find multiple enjoyments. Many people suffer from having only one favored mode. They become slaves to their limited capacity for enjoyment. They turn their one enjoyment into a job, and then find their pursuit drained of pleasure. You are more like your ancestors if you follow their culture than if you are genetically the same flesh. You worship the god of your conqueror. Witch burnings increased after the courts became secular. Powerful kings and queens often develop strange fetishes and develop complex desires. In what well-paid profession is it advantageous to always speak the truth? We all entered the world from a vagina. So we dream the earliest man came out of caves. Breasts are considered erotic for the cultures who hide them under clothes. Even ankles are erotic for cultures who try to cover the entire body of the female.
Get away from me, you pervert!
Man quests for the concealed, God and tits. Amen. Gunslingers of cheap advice.
Yow!
They draw their gun in the blink of an eye. You are given the quick advice and say, thanks, even though you do not want to reward them. But do not tell them, I already do that, or that does not apply to my situation. They become angry when you reject the impressiveness of the shiny toy gun.
Ponder this.
Ponder this.
The humanity of it all!
All of us is gonna be
The Humanities of It All with Professor Mooney D.
It's the only show I listen to during tea. Would you be with Derry and put the kettle on?
Anyway, learn as we go. Welcome once again, and thanks for tuning in to SM Dotson's Strange Tales. Today we're talking about exorcism and possession. Exorcism and possession. Usually people assume that possession refers to demon possession. But there are religions and beliefs that hold to the idea that it's not always a demon who does the possessing. And when this, let's call it evil spirit, we'll get into that more in this episode. But it's believed that this evil spirit can be banished by an exorcist. And this exists in many parts of the world, ancient history and in modern history, that one is possessed by a spirit of some sort, a demon or not, and someone comes along, a shaman or a priest of some sort, and performs an exorcism. We see this in Mongolia, you see it in Tibet, you see it in Hinduism, you see it in Judaism, you see it in Islam, you see exorcism and possession
in many major religions. Taoism. The list goes on and on. And they don't all believe it's a thing. They don't all use the same rituals, but similarities as well. So we'll get into that, but we'll really start off talking about the Christian view of exorcism and possession. So the classical Western view that there are demons that do the possessing, not, say, something else. And in this particular episode, I'll also do some readings from Gothic fiction works that involve possession and exorcism. Unfortunately, right now, I'm not able to see what people are typing in the chat line, but definitely type in the chat line and have conversations. I'm going to, as soon as I can, figure out how to monitor the chat line and talk with you guys while I'm live. It's just that if I get on there now, then there's going to be a lot of skipping. There's going to be a lot of audio and visual interference, so it doesn't allow me to stream very well to get on to a chat line and that sort of thing. So if you have any suggestions, let me know in the comment section once this is finished. The comments do actually stay around, so that's a good thing. When I was doing research earlier on the idea of demon possession with Christianity, oftentimes people think of the story that took place in reference to Legion. Legion is not one demon, but several demons. And Legion had possessed a man who basically went wild and perhaps even violent and inflicted self-harm because he was possessed by these many demons. And Jesus came along and cast out the demons, and the demons recognized Jesus, and he cast them out into swine, and then the swine ran into the water and died. But I think it's interesting in this case that where Jesus found this possessed man was not in the city, not in the countryside, not in a Gothic cathedral, because they didn't exist yet. But where did he find them? In a graveyard. Graveyards in some places, and in some places in the ancient world, could be a place for outcasts to hang around in, but it also brings in the idea that the dead perhaps have something to do with demon possession, maybe. I don't know, just a theory. Something I thought about when I wrote Possessions of Putrescence. In Christianity and other religions, there's obviously more going on than a simple demon possession. It would be more complex than that if it's a real thing. Now, I'll have to admit I'm not religious, and I don't necessarily believe in classical demonic possession by any means, but I do believe that it's actually a phenomenon that exists. In other words, there are actually people who claim to be possessed, and there are exorcists who go about, and there are many every year of people who claim to be possessed, and priests who perform the exorcism ritual, the exorcismus, the exorcism ritual to banish a demon. I mean, that's still going on. It's not merely ancient. It's not simply medieval. It's still happening. Although many historians say that reports of possession and exorcism have decreased greatly because of the Enlightenment, we do actually see an increase in cases of alleged demon possession and performed exorcisms when the culture is more aware of
what you might say more afraid of demons, or if it's more present in the collective consciousness, there tend to be more demonic possessions reported. And so we see a great cultural impact happen around the mid-70s when the film The Exorcist is released. And I saw the movie when I was 13, and it definitely affected me, and other people I knew as well. It was an impactful film. Of course, back then I was very young when I first saw it. When I saw it when I was 13, and I believed that demons existed at that point. I believed it, and I was afraid of them. And because I had looked into it at age 13, age 14, because I had read about it and researched it, and in particular Christian views of demon possession, I was aware that demons tend to possess the young more than older people. I mean, that's something that if you look into it, even very briefly, you'll discover that the young tend to be possessed. Youth, children, tend to be possessed more than adults. I think that's very interesting. It's very interesting. And when I was 13, yes, I was afraid. I was afraid. Not just because of the movie The Exorcist, although it helped greatly, but because of the religion I belonged to at the time as well. So even to this day, I find it a fascinating topic. But I find it fascinating looking at it from a historical worldview, looking at all the different versions and theories of possession and exorcism through time, and seeing commonalities and where they differ. One commonality that is fundamental to this conversation is the commonality of religion. I mean, really, where do you find in the history of Homo sapiens, wherever you look, you find religion? It's really hard to debate that. It's really hard to look at any one society, even if it's a so-called secular society. You really peel back the layers and you see that there are many religious people in it. Now, of course, there are places in Europe who are somewhat more secular, and there's a good percentage of people who say don't believe in religion. But it's the norm for humans to have some sort of religious view. Sometimes it's not a big institutional church religion sort of institution, but it's, say, a native or family or folk religion, which is really the word pagan. Paganus comes from the Latin, which means the countryside. So it really, it's referring to folk religion. But really, wherever you look, there is religion. So therefore, a good percentage of those religious people, and to be religious, I imagine to a lesser or greater degree, you have to embrace superstition and encounter fears and worries and the idea of evil forces manifesting themselves through what you might say spiritual or magical ways. There's room for those ideas to exist in religion, quite a bit of room, especially if you believe in the idea of demons or evil spirits or ghosts who can be malignant. And once that happens, then every once in a while someone gets possessed and a priest or monk is called upon to recite a prayer and perform an exorcism, and through time the ritual of exorcism becomes a standard practice. And in many cases, like you look in Europe, even before Christianity, there was a form of possession and exorcism in Nordic religion. And so you see a continuum throughout religions, through time. It's not just one religion that has possession and exorcism, but their theories on them differ. And of course, Christianity, with the idea of possession, they're going to say it's a demon almost every time. And of course, you get this with early Christianity, especially in the Roman Empire. They, with Emperor Theodosius, public pagan practices became illegal. Christianity was already the state religion under Theodosius. Theodosius made it the official state religion, from what I understand, and what historians believe. And Theodosius actually basically began I don't know, for lack of a better term, witch hunt on paganism, pagan practices, basically anything other than Christianity. So Christians have a habit of demonizing the idea of spirits. If there's a spirit, somebody's taken in by a spirit, well, it's automatically a demon. Or if you refer to an old god, ancient Christians oftentimes would not deny the existence of a different god, as much as say, it's not a god, it's a demon, and you're worshiping that demon. And sort of that practice, that mentality still exists today. So if somebody's possessed, every time, Protestant, Catholic, whatever, they're not going to call it a evil spirit other than a demon, a fallen angel, a minion of Satan, a demon. And they're not going to call it ghost. Or they're not going to call it, an angry spirit who can be appeased and therefore set free. And so the spirit isn't angry anymore. No, that demon is inherently evil. So anytime there's a possession, it's in some ways made worse, because if that person really believes they're possessed, then there's no way out for them. This being inside them is purely evil, and when the symptoms disappear, the demon disappears, And if the symptoms are still there, then that evil is still present in their body. See how that works? So it's not always good to demonize things. But hey, if that's your game, then, that's what most people do who belong to, organized religion under the Christianity banner. They demonize non-Christian things. So I suppose that's to be expected. So we'll talk about that more, but let's talk about what do we have up first here? This whole idea, the whole spiel that I just spouted is basically what I've been thinking of for quite a while, and that sort of idea of possession, challenging the norm of possession and taking more of a historical worldview instead of a localized Christian view. If you're raised in a Christian environment, you tend to think of possession as in a certain light. And I came up with a storyline based on that fundamental allegory almost. Like, what if we were wrong and we're actually doing some damage somehow? Not just to the possessed child, but perhaps what really is that spirit that we're demonizing? Are we making their experience more tumultuous? What if it's actually a ghost, a spirit, a deceased person who's very confused and angry about something? And maybe they can be sort of appeased. Now, there are many religions, well, I don't know if I can say many, but there are a good amount of religions who do not believe it's a demon, but a spirit who can be appeased. And if the spirit is purely evil, well, you just need to get rid of them. But many spirits, some of these various religions, other than Christianity believe, other than Judaism, other than Islam, they have room for the idea of a spirit who can be appeased. I think that's very interesting. And so I began writing a story called Possessions of Putrescence that takes place in the late 19th century. And even though my Gothic fiction writings take place later and don't have such a strong Christian theme, this particular book, Possessions of Putrescence, deals with the conflict the main character has, Martin Salzburg. He's an exorcist. But what he discovered during the grim rounds when he was after seminary, he traveled around to various colonies, and he realized that not everybody believes it's a demon, and he finds out that religion forbids exorcists, a Christian religion forbids exorcists to think of the alien spirit as anything but a demon, to demonize the ghost, as he calls it. He says Christianity demonizes the ghost, and he found that through a method of dialogue with the ghost, he can find out, he can basically help that ghost reach actualization. If it's willing, if it's malignant and evil, there are certain things you can do, but you can have a suke therapy, he calls it. Suke is, of course, the Greek word for the soul. It can also be for breath of life, but it's something Freud used that word for psychotherapy. But I use it closer to the Greek, suke therapy. And so, of course, I chose suke therapy because it's so similar to what Freud did just a couple decades after Possessions of Putrescence takes place. So it was a intentional parody on my part to parody psychotherapy and call it suke therapy, but it really has to do with dialogue with a maladjusted ghost who doesn't really know it's dead or still is holding on to some emotional loop that it's on. And so, when you question things, you can become excited about breaking out of conventional views, and this story is kind of, is based on that idea. And so, let me show you guys the synopsis. And this is a recording of the synopsis of Possessions of Putrescence. And takes place in the late 19th century.
Possessions of Putrescence by S.M. Dotson. Martin Salzburg, the town exorcist, has developed a strange theory regarding demon possession, too revolutionary to share with fellow Christians. In the small town of Putrescence, Martin discovers a local legend that takes him on a journey to find the ghost of Seymour Downcross, and to discover why the centuries-old villain is using an orphanage for his occult endeavors.
There we are. Thanks for checking that out. Possessions of Putrescence. I'm in the editing process of that, and when I've finished with the editing, then you actually send it off to professional editors, and that's something like all professional authors do. Is there's a sort of a finishing editor or editors, usually several that you go through. So, I'll keep you guys up to date on the progress of that, and that's really the prologue to the Oregon Forensics series. I also do short stories. In a previous episode, you can see on this channel on S.M. Dotson's Strange Tales, but you can also see on Floating Lodge on YouTube. In the previous episode, I read one of my short stories, Room in the Car. And the image you see here on the right there, where my thumb's pointing, that image right there is an illustration I did of a short story that I'm submitting to a literary journal. It's called The Devil's Pipe. I'll blow it up a little bit so you can see it. Expand it here. You see a little pipe below. This isn't the official image. This is just something I'm using as a background illustration. You see in the smoke, you see various faces of the damned. So I won't really read that particular story right now, because if it appears in a literary journal, they're going to want first publishing rights and that sort of thing. So I'm holding off on that. More updates to come. I'm also working on a project where I'm illustrating a book of haiku. I have 30 illustrations, and they're really 30 tarot cards, 1 through 30, and they involve progress of these various haiku and go along with various haiku that the blind poet of Sedalia wrote, James Bryant. And here's a promo for that. And here we go.
Inside a black hole, a planet pained, painful, galaxies of tears.
That's James Bryant's Dark Haiku, Book 1, coming out soon. Looking forward to that. I'll let you guys see some more illustrations in a future episode. But let's carry on. Exorcism and possession. The word of the day is exorcism. We get the word from the Latin. And we're, of course, talking about the Romans here. But the Romans got the word from the Greeks. So if we really want to go back super far, we have to look at the Greek etymology of the word. And you really have a combination of two words there in the etymology. You have ex, which often means out of, but when it's combined with the second root word, which means to take an oath, horkos, you are basically saying an exorcism is there's a need to swear an oath or to bind something by an oath. And so the way that translates into modern exorcisms or even medieval exorcisms is that you're making certain sacred oaths. You're really just reading verses from the Bible, Psalms 91, I believe it is, that is often recited, especially in Hebrew practices. But they're really just official scripture, oftentimes. That's how that's expressed, the exorcism ritual. So, kind of interesting. The word of the day is exorcism. Exorcism actually comes from the Latin exorcismus, and the Greek word is exorcismos. Very, very slight difference in the word. I think it's interesting. You actually see the Romans, a lot of their technical jargon is actually Greek. You know, the Romans hired Greeks to do a lot of administration and building and sort of technical things in their own society. So Romans heavily borrowed from the Greeks, even though they didn't always like to admit it. But some of them were great fans. The root word that comes from Greek is not spelled, but pronounced horkos. Horkos, which just means an oath. On the topic of exorcism, of course, I've already mentioned when I was 13 I watched that movie, which is really one of my favorite dark/suspense horror movies. I've got several movies. Of course, I'm going to show the trailer for in the 1970s release of The Exorcist. I'm going to show the trailer for that. It's nice to look back and reminisce. What were your first experiences watching The Exorcist? Do you have any special stories or reminiscence of when you first saw the film? It doesn't have to be, of course, if you saw it in theaters, because I did not. When I was 13, the film was already more than a decade old. But yeah, the film is one of my favorites. I think in terms of like suspense, dark, occult films, it's The Exorcist. It's Omen. I like quite a bit. I like The Omen. I also like Rosemary's Baby. Quite fond of that film. My favorite, another Roman Polanski, is The Ninth Gate. And I know a lot of people, there's really no horror involved, and a lot of people kind of have a hard time getting into that soft occult vibe. But that's really one of my favorite all-time films is The Ninth Gate. But anyway, despite the reputation of the director. Anyway, here we go. Without further ado, let's look at the 1970s release of The Exorcist. Just a short trailer.
Something beyond comprehension is happening to a little girl on this street, in this house. A man has been sent for, as a last resort, to try and save her.
Good times. Great oldies. With ethic. Blah, 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 blah. Speaking in tongues, but that's a further episode. That's a future episode. I did actually go to a couple churches where they speak in tongues. We'll talk about that some other time, but on to possession and exorcism. Now, I asked you guys, what were your experiences the first time you watched The Exorcist, but if you have any experiences with possession or an exorcism, feel free to mention that in the comment section. That'd be just dandy. I found a short film titled The Cultural Impact of The Exorcist. So in the 1970s, there's just what it said, a great, interesting cultural impact. You actually see a rise in reported or alleged cases of possession. But the film had quite a popular mainstream ripple effect to it. And so let's watch this short little documentary on the cultural impact of the 1970s release of The Exorcist. Here we go.
On December 26, 1973, in 24 selected engagements in the United States, William Peter Blatty's The Exorcist, directed by William Friedkin, opened. From the novel that had long been on the bestseller lists and directed by the man who had brought the French Connection to the screen, The Exorcist had long been awaited, widely speculated upon, and anxiously anticipated. But no one, no matter how close or deeply involved in the film, could possibly have anticipated what was to happen at every theater where this film played.
This is the second time we've seen it. It's terrific.
As many as I can possibly go. I love it.
Try it. You'll like it. Well, we drove 100 miles, so I hope so.
Fantastic movie.
It's really gross.
It was really terrific.
I want to see if it's going to make me throw up.
The Exorcist scored the biggest opening day gross for a single theater in the history of Los Angeles motion picture houses and broke established records in every other theater where it opened across the country. In record-breaking, coast-to-coast first-week grosses, The Exorcist brought in almost $2 million at 24 theaters. In 6 days, The Exorcist surpassed all previous box office records at 3 theaters in New York. At Los Angeles, 2 more theaters were open. In Chicago, the pattern was the same, and the dimensions of The Exorcist experience broke on the motion picture world with an impact rivaled only by the audiences that continue to pour into all these theaters. It was, of course, first evident to the theater managers that The Exorcist was no longer just the most successful motion picture in film history, but had become an unquestioned sociological phenomenon, breaking out of the theater pages and television reviewers' hands to the city desk, the front page, and hard news on telecast from coast to coast.
I'm Harry Francis, manager of the National Theater here in Westwood. I've been in this business 40 years now, and I have never gone through anything like this. It's exciting. Public love it. Had crowds that you can't believe. We've hired 20 security guards to control the crowds. We're getting young people, old people, you name it, we get anyone. Last week in the rain, they stood as it was the sun today. Mr. Friedkin and Mr. Blatty felt sorry for the people. They hired caterers. They give out 3,000 cups of coffee each night, a total of 6,000. The public thought it was great.
My name is Randy Robbins, the assistant manager at the National Theater. We've had uncontrollable crowds, and to try and alleviate some of the problems of people not getting tickets that have been waiting long periods of time in line, we started a system of giving out coupons. Nobody gets a ticket without a coupon, and the way they get them is just by taking a place in line, waiting from 3 to 5.5 hours, and then purchasing their ticket with it. Only one coupon is given per person, and they can't buy a ticket without it, regardless. So what we do, right now it's 4 o'clock, we're giving out coupons for the 8 o'clock show, which will guarantee them a seat, so they won't have to worry about whether they'll be getting in or whether they won't be getting in.
My name is Donna Yearwood. I'm a cashier here at the National Theater in Westwood. We are showing The Exorcist right now, and it's absolutely fantastic. We have people coming. This morning they were standing in line at 4:30 in the morning for the 10:30 show, and we've just had sellouts every day. About 2 hours before the performance even begins, we've already got enough people in line to sell out the theater, and they remain in line, and people who know they won't get into that show will go to the end of the line and wait for the next show. Sometimes we'll have our 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and the midnight show sold out before 6 by the people that are standing in line. And they'll stand in line in the rain, they'll stand in line under all kinds of conditions, and they all seem to just really enjoy it when they come in. We've never had anyone complain about the wait being too long for the kind of movie it was. Everyone just really felt it was great. And sometimes even they stand in line for 5 and 7 hours. We've heard some of the people say they've been standing in line that long, and they'll come in and they won't be able to watch the whole movie because it's just too much for them, and they'll come out after about an hour, but they don't complain about standing in line.
I don't like it. I want to go home.
Makes my heart beat too fast.
I don't know, it doesn't bother me that much, but I guess it bothers her more than it bothered me.
This is the second time we've seen it. We still can't hack it. No. Why was that? I'm not going back in there.
All the people are pretty good about it. We've had to have a lot, as long as we have a lot of help, then we can help the people as fast as we can. And they don't mind too much. They stand forever.
My name is Jamie Spinn.
Oh, my name is Karen Howard.
My name is Robin Ellison.
We work here answering telephones. And
Fixing popcorn and drinks. We get about it. Yeah. When they first let everybody in, everybody runs, and they're like a stampede, and we scream like there's a riot going on.
Slow down, Slow down. All 3 doors, please. Just move down to the other door.
Just the other night, this guy came out, and I looked out the door, and he was lying on the floor.
He's really big. You wouldn't have expected.
I know. All these big guys, they come out, and they look like they're ghosts or something. And
they ask for Somalian salts and everything.
It's not the kind of people you'd expect to faint. Yeah.
It didn't scare me. I don't know what happened. I just fainted. It was frightening.
My experience with this movie has been incredible, especially with people fainting. Halfway through the movie, the movie starts getting quite violent, and people get quite unusual reactions, and we have a lot of people throwing up and a lot of people shuddering. But the thing that really surprises me is people faint. I mean, I've never in my life known a movie where people would faint. I mean, it's hard to make people faint.
If she ain't out here,
Well, as soon as they faint, I get out the smelling salts, and we have 2 kinds. We have a little bottle with smelling salts, and I uncap it, and I hold it under their nose, and they come to, or else we have the little pellets, and I break them, and then they come to. And most of them, once they fainted, they don't go back into the picture.
The crowds were so intense at all the theaters that they became a police concern. Uniformed guards were hired in all instances to keep thoroughfares clear and prevent violation of the lines.
form a more orderly line. You're blocking the sidewalk.
It's something I never saw in my whole entire life. This is something different. And I went to a lot of movies, but I never seen nothing like this in myself.
Please, look please. Move this way. Theater's upstairs. Here, please. Theater's upstairs. All the way down. All the way down here, please. Please, keep your line in. We will get you there. Please moving back in. Move back in here, please. Please move in. We won't get you pictures.
Right, we came yesterday for the 3:45 showing, and then we came back again for the night one, and we stood in line but nothing. We didn't get in, so we wanted to come back again today.
She turned her head around.
Oh my God. It's probably the grossest thing I've ever seen.
It's weird.
She turned her head around.
So why don't you just step out so I can get that?
She turned her head around.
It's not that bad.
God, I was so scared the bed was shaking and like her back.
She's going up and down.
And then when her voice changed, my God, I've never seen anything like
Did
it.
you see the part where she turns her head around?
Not yet. I'm not gonna see it either.
It's gross. I tell you that. Yeah? Man, that is one of the most grossest movies in the world. It is. I ain't never took my coat and hit it over my face like that. Seriously, man.
It really was.
Seriously.
It was a good movie, but it was really bad.
I tell everybody go see it.
All the major networks covered the exorcist phenomenon in hard news stories.
David Sheehan is with us tonight to talk about a movie that has people passing out in the lobby on their way in or on their way out, David.
Well, you've heard about all those reports about The Exorcist and the trouble it's causing, people fainting and so forth. I went to check it out. The manager of the National Theater in Westwood says that there indeed are at least a dozen people who faint or become ill during every showing. But The Exorcist is still drawing sellout houses for every performance, complete with lines around the block. I spent an evening in the lobby just to see if people really do come stumbling out in the middle of the picture, as reported. They did, so I asked them why.
It just scared me to death. Things just like this, really scared me to death. I'm just nervous.
Do you remember what particular scene it was that...
When she was in, what was it? When she was in a room, the doctors came in, and I guess it was when she was talking the devil's voice. Oh, God, I can't believe it.
Keep away! The soul is mine!
Are you going to go back in and see more of the movie now?
Probably, yeah.
What are you going to do right now?
I don't want to see it, but my curiosity's killing me. I have to see it.
I fainted like 10 minutes after the first beginning of the movie. And I walked out, and they gave me some water.
I passed out in about the first half hour, yeah.
Do you remember what it was, what scene it was that affected you so much?
Convulsions, when she took convulsions. Because I have a little girl, and it was like watching my little girl.
I think it's disgusting.
Why?
I don't know, it doesn't, it doesn't make me want to get sick like everybody says. My legs are just going, nyeh, and I want to go in the lobby and not watch it, and I have to cover my ears.
What was it that made that happen?
Just when she started talking like devil coming out of her.
How about you?
I can't even describe it. It's so horrible. I don't know why I waited 4 hours to see that.
The devil made her did it, I bet. The fact that people do wait 4 hours in line and then go back in to see more after they've fainted or gotten sick, I guess it shows how far some people will go for the thrill of being chilled to the bone. And judging from my long night in the lobby, the people most susceptible to being profoundly upset by the film are those who went in believing in the devil, Roman Catholics especially. As a matter of fact, the Pope himself is being quoted as part of the film's publicity campaign. Demonology, he said, is an important part of Catholic doctrine that really ought to be studied again. And on that level, some psychiatrists are calling The Exorcist a dangerous movie because it does give credibility to a variety of superstitions, including the devil myth and the power of ritual. So it may be true to some, The Exorcist might be dangerously convincing. To me, The Exorcist is nothing more than a fantastically well-made and very shocking chiller, or thriller, if you prefer.
KABC TV in Westwood.
It's frightening.
Do you think she'll go back in?
I don't know. I have a friend in there alone, and I don't want to leave her in there alone. So I probably will. But it's incredibly frightening.
As well as hard news coverage on local television stations. From San Francisco.
Triggered by the compelling story of The Exorcist. It focuses on an adolescent girl possessed by the devil, and the ghoulish horror which results has been captured in one of the most shocking films in years. And the crowds love it. They wait outside the North Point Theater through 2 or more performances to get in. One close estimate figures 100,000 people have seen The Exorcist since it opened 4 weeks ago.
Atlanta.
Excuse me, but the 7:50 feature just sold out. If you want to wait for the 10 o'clock feature, tickets gonna sell at 8:30.
Has anyone said to you, don't go see The Exorcist?
Many.
Why?
Scary.
Well, I hope that the game goes well. Did you just bring cards, by the way, or is it something that you planned ahead of time? Or did you go out and buy them?
No, we planned ahead of time to bring them because we heard about the long lines.
Well, I hope when you get in finally to see The Exorcist that you do enjoy it and that you don't get too frightened and have to return to the card game. Thank you.
Thank you.
Why do you believe that The Exorcist is worth such a long wait?
Well, I've read the book, and I'm just more curious than anything else, I guess.
Well, have you heard any discouraging things about the film?
Yes, I have debated on whether or not to come, really, but my curiosity got the better of me.
St. Louis.
I wouldn't advise it for children. It's very mind-impressing, though. It's good. It's very good.
Do you believe in it?
Well, I'm a Catholic. It makes me want to go and go to church.
I thought it was excellent. I really did. I thought it was very good.
Did you believe it could happen?
Oh, yes. Anything's possible.
Possession by the devil?
Well, I'm not saying it has happened, but I'm not saying it hasn't either.
Detroit.
Yeah, the part where she started spitting all the green stuff and, ugh.
Are you going to go back in as soon as you compose yourself?
Yeah, I suppose so. I don't have to look anymore, though.
You've walked out of the movie 3 times?
Yeah, 3.
On 3 different occasions?
Yeah.
You work here, so you've seen the movie several times. You're tried to, right?
I tried to, right.
And you still haven't seen it all the way through.
No.
What keeps hanging you up?
The movies.
Philadelphia.
How did you like The Exorcist?
I didn't like it.
Why didn't you like it?
Afraid of it.
It was really scary. It was a really good movie, but it was really scary. I would want to see it a second time.
It was a very different picture, and it takes you way out. And I wouldn't want to see it again. A person the author had to be part of the devil himself to think of such ideas.
My nerves are shot.
The Pittsburgh Press headlined The Exorcist, an experience in hysteria for some viewers, saying there were 1,300 standing in sub-freezing weather for hours at a time. The Boston Globe insisted that The Exorcist is not for the faint-hearted. About 5,000 people daily are getting a dose of psychic horror. The Los Angeles Times reports The Exorcist causing fainting and fleeing. Some trembled, others sought the privacy of restrooms. Majority stared into space. The St. Louis Post-Dispatch says suburbs showing The Exorcist aroused by traffic congestion. The San Francisco Chronicle headlines their story, Weird Goings-On. The Milwaukee Journal blared, fans line up to have stomachs turned. In Toronto, the Star gives a whole page to The Exorcist on one day with news photos of crowds lined up in freezing temperatures and a report that the picture is keeping the ambulances busy. And finally, cartoonist Conrad reinterpreted the basic advertising art for The Exorcist as a political suggestion. The New York Times said the United States is going to the devil. Later, the New York Times devoted a section front-page headline to speculation on the cause of the Exorcist phenomenon, and a full inside page in that same section on the people waiting in line. On major radio networks and on local television throughout the country, psychiatrists and priests query the makers of the film and each other on the meaning of its public impact.
I must confess that there were times when I had to force myself to look at the screen.
Why?
First of all, I knew what was coming because I had read the book, and secondly, because it is a subject matter which obviously is, well, let's put it this way, it seems to me that it touches very deep areas of the human personality. And unless one is very insensitive, I can't imagine anyone either reading the book or seeing the movie without it having some reaction on them.
The Exorcist is with us now. The movie made from William Blatty's book. It may well prove to be more than just a volume or a show. It may well be remembered as one of the phenomena of the 70s. It seems that Chicago, like ancient Gaul, is today a city divided into three parts. Those who have not yet seen the movie, those who have seen it and want to talk about it, and those who have seen it and don't want to talk about it. I'm here in Hollywood today talking with the two men who are responsible for the remarkable success of The Exorcist, and they are author William Blatty and director of the film William Friedkin. Did you realize when you began all this that you're going to have such a phenomenon, or were you just trying to make a decent, honest living?
I was quite confident, just looking at the dailies, that it was going to be quite a phenomenon. Perhaps not to this extent, but I was convinced when I saw the very first rough cut on a moviola that Billy had put together that I quite frankly believed it was a film masterpiece, and I do.
Interesting. Now, see, he uses the same phrase that I do, Bill. He calls it a film masterpiece, and I admit this. I have some questions about its contribution to theology and religion, but as to say it's not one of the greatest entertainments we've ever seen, we can't deny that at all. But do you think that you're really making a contribution, say, to religion and to the understanding of theology?
Leaders of the religious community are naturally curious and often controversial on the subject of this film, which included among its technical advisors 3 Jesuits, 2 of whom also played parts in the film. The medical and psychiatric community has shown a similar interest in discussion of the film, its meaning, and the significant response of the public. There are 3 doctors of medicine credited as technical advisors in the main title. As this film report is finished, the news on the streets in front of the theater, on television, radio, and in the newspapers continues. The United States is astonished by the Exorcist experience. Soon, we expect the rest of the world will join them.
Yes. Yes, yes. Wow. People in the 1970s were not prepared for The Exorcist. Not at all. Many people passing out. Interesting. Very interesting. So right now, I'm actually going to move into Gothic fiction. I'm going to read an excerpt from Possessions of Putrescence, where there is a possession taking place. So maybe reminiscent of The Exorcist, but with a twist in that the exorcist Martin Salzberg does not actually believe that those that are possessed have a demon, but instead have a ghost, a wandering soul, often confused, not remembering how they died or having died under dire circumstances. So here we have from Chapter 2 of Possessions of Putrescence, not yet out. Possessions of Putrescence from Chapter 2. The exorcist noticed the usual symptoms of possession. Coldness, sound deadened in the air, and suffocated light formed a tight sphere around its source. A scent like that left over from a lightning strike permeated the air. Goosebumps formed in the tingle of something unseen. The confused foreign spirit flailed about in 12-year-old Sachet's body. The mother said the girl's name, but the child let out a scream and undulated as if she tried to lurch forward. But only her spine obeyed, demanding, "That is not my name." The girl strained against the bedsheets tied around her wrists and ankles, securing her to the bedposts. The parents prayed aloud, ignoring the pleading words coming from Sachet's possessed body. In their defense, much of it made little sense. The ritual begins shortly, Martin said near the mother's ear. You may now exit the room. When they left, Martin spoke to the possessed child, violating the strict exorcist code, which forbade speaking to the spirit directly, a punishable offense known as entertaining the demon. In Martin's opinion, the code stunted the growth of the field of exorcism and made the experience much more difficult for everyone involved. It allowed religious institutions to maintain a monopoly over possession, to keep it demonized, so to speak. Some theologians, under the spiritual strain of modernity, theorize that exorcism is the one church practice to hinder the progress of secularization more than any other religious service to the community. It was the 8th sacrament. The possessed girl, Sachette, breathed heavily through her cloth gag. She struck Martin with a dubious sideward glance. "Well, hello, friend," said Martin to the spirit inhabiting the little girl. "What is your name?" The possessed girl flinched at the question, mumbled incoherently, and finally said, "Where am I?" Her voice trembled as vapor billowed from her mouth into the cold room. Martin noticed the spirit inside Sachette spoke in a High German dialect. When alive, the ghost probably came from somewhere in the south, the exorcist reasoned. "No worries," replied Martin in a calm, almost aloof voice. "You are stuck in someone else's body, but your discomfort won't tarry a moment past dawn." Martin took the small book from his pocket. "Might you tell me your name?" "My name?" The spirit seemed confused by the question. The two sat in silence for a moment. "I'm Frida," the spirit finally said, as if she suddenly remembered after a great effort. "How did I get in here?" "It happens, darling. Not sure how. I'm Martin, a doctor. What is your last name, Frida?" "Last name? My name is Frida Koenig," she said. "Can you help me, doctor?" "Yes, you will be safe, Frida. I've done this before. It always works out. Tell me a little about your family, my dear." Sachette's body became calmer, less erratic breathing, and fewer sudden movements. "Oh, let me think," the ghost of Frida Koenig said through the lips of the young girl. "Gilda, my youngest daughter, and I came to Putressa after Filbert died. Herman and Gaster died fighting for the Sun King before that." "What was the last thing you remember?" asked Martin Salzburg. "I went blind from the fever, but I can see again. Am I still sick, doctor?" "You're no longer sick, Frida. You are at peace, waiting for the Lord to return. The only hiccup is that your soul woke up early and is stuck in the body of a little girl, Sachette. Oh dear, will she be fine? Asked the ghost of Frida. That is such a pretty name. Yes, said Martin. She'll wake up in the morning ready for her lessons, and Easter is the Sunday. That's nice, Frida said. Her words sounded genuinely relieved. My apologies for all the fuss. No need, said Martin. It was an accident. Will I be in heaven soon? Frida asked, as her voice began to fade. Before you know it, Frida, Martin said in hushed tones, and goodness will reign forever. A small tear swelled and fell across her temple. The ghost of Frida left the girl. Light leapt into the room from the burning candle, and with it, a feeling of warmth returned. The exorcist pulled out a small notebook and wrote the name of the ghost in a few shorthand symbols indicating the circumstances and outcome from the suke therapy. Martin looked up at the girl. Sachette lightly snored with dawn still hours away. Martin snuffed the candle on her dresser with a clapperless bell and quietly exited the room. And that's the end of my excerpt from Possessions of Putrescens. Thanks for checking that out. I'm almost finished writing that novel, and that's the first scene that the reader really gets an idea that this book is about possession, and that Martin is a little bit different than other Christian exorcists. He doesn't believe it's a demon at all. He believes that they're ghosts. And what's interesting is that many religions all over the world believe the same thing, that possession isn't a demon. They don't believe that sometimes these are malignant spirits, of course, but they're not necessarily demons. And so there's a view, the view of Martin Salzberg is that Christians demonize the ghost, the demonization of ghosts, as he called it. And that's the basic idea, the fundamental idea behind the story. And it goes on from there and approaches other occult and mystical themes. We'll talk more about that story at some other time. But now let's move away from Christianity and let's go toward those religions I've been speaking about who do not believe that when someone is possessed that it's a demon, although they believe it might be a disgruntled or evil spirit. They don't necessarily believe that it's some great evil force so much as it's a old ghost, perhaps a new ghost, but oftentimes a ghost who is still angry about something that happened, or perhaps they don't have a final resting place and they need to be reburied. There are very many ways to diagnose someone who's possessed and how to appease that spirit. And that's just the thing. That's different than Christianity. An exorcist from another religion might try to appease the spirit, whereas a Christian in no way wants to appease what they think or what they call as a demon. So this first clip, great clip of a shaman from Thailand. This shaman from Thailand and this culture in general approach exorcism much differently. It's more of a collective effort. There are many people involved, not just adults and trained priests. But what you're going to see is something very, very interesting. This was filmed in 1974, and what's interesting about that is that's the same year The Exorcist came out. This was filmed in Thailand by Gary Seaman. Basically what's happening is there's a possessed child, human, and this often manifests in behavioral issues or diseases of the body. And a priest comes and they want to get rid of this spirit, but they believe it's a spirit of a ghost. And so in this ritual, there is a small, you'll notice a small chair. A chair looks like a child's chair, way too small for a normal human. And they're waving this chair around. And what they're doing is they're trying to get this ghost to leave the human and move into this decorated ritual chair. So they're actually creating this ritual to get the ghost to move from the human to this sort of temporary shrine. And they take this chair to a countryside shrine, and they perform the ritual again in a slightly different way with incense and shaking the chair, and they get this ghost to move to the shrine as if it's some sort of final release. And I'm describing this simply because there's no audio to this old video. So check this out. It's not a demon. It's a spirit that needs to be appeased to these Thai shamans, these Thai priests. And here's a clip from 1974. They've dug up the bones of the deceased, and what they're doing now is they're taking clay, and they're building basically a golem. They're building a humanoid creature out of the clay and inserting the bone into it. This is appeasing the ghost that they have exorcised. And they put it on the ritual chair. They dug up the bones of the deceased, and now they're building a clay golem. If you don't know what a golem is, Golem, I'll talk about that on a later show, but it generally is in Jewish mysticism, where you use a substance, often clay, to form a human-like creature, and you bring it to life, basically. And they're constructing something very similar to the golem.
The humanity of it all.
The humanities of it all with Professor Mooney D.
It's the only show I listen to during tea. Would you be with Derry and put the kettle on?
What's up, Kansas City?
What's up, Kansas City? Oh! Ooh, ooh, ooh. Kansas City. How you doing, Kansas City?
When I was little, initially I wanted to be a black trash man, and then when I got a little bit older, around age 12 or 13, I really wanted to be an exorcist. Like, I saw the movie The Exorcist, and any exorcist here tonight? No? Okay. But I do have a story. I went to grad school for history, and a friend that was there at the time became a Catholic priest, and he became an exorcist himself. There was a particular case he was having trouble with, and Jeff calls me up, and he just, holy water had no effect, the crucifix had no effect, the name of Christ had no effect on this demon. So he was fairly vexed, and actually drove up to St. Louis to see the girl who was possessed. And this is not the first time I've seen someone who's claimed to be possessed, and this demon was very interesting in that it seemed very lucid. In other words, some demons can't control their host very well. Say they don't have total possession of the human host, right? And they have to struggle to move the body and speak, you know? And this is what people think about when I think of demon possession, right? They think of sort of a gravelly voice and, like there are body movements that are just kind of jerky. Well, that's the demon trying to possess. The demons don't actually move like that. That's just the whole idea of possession, is the demon can't fully control the body. But this demon seemed to have full control of the body and didn't have sort of awkward idiosyncrasies about him. He just seemed to be able to have a normal conversation. That was very off-putting. So I noticed really quickly this was a different demon than what I've seen. And priests are often trained under the assumption that the violent movements and the raspy voice of those possessed are because of the demon has like a vile nature. And this demon possession case really, I quickly figure out this wasn't the case at all. The sounds and gestures are a byproduct of the possession, not the actual demon itself. So when a Catholic priest confronts a demon-possessed person, what's the first thing they do? Sir, what is the first thing that a Catholic priest does when you watch one on the movies? What's the first thing a Catholic priest does to someone who's possessed by a demon? And the demon's throwing out all these curse words and everything. What do?
Show the cross?
Yeah, they pull out their cross, their crucifix, right? What else? Holy water. Yeah, they splash holy water in their face. Yeah, they get excited and they start reciting memorized crap. They throw water on the poor possessed person. It starts to sizzle on their forehead, which is very uncomfortable, I'm sure. And then they shove their neck ornament in its face, the crucifix. And so what do? They end up totally blocking off civil conversation with the demon, right? Based on their own assumptions. Based on, back a long time ago, if somebody, had a certain, they have Tourette's syndrome or something, they might think they were possessed by a demon or think that person is just revealing their true nature or what have you. But now we know it's an actual thing. Has to do with the brain, and we can recognize it for what it is. And so it's the same with Catholicism and demon possession. They just block off all civil conversation with those entities. You ever ask, what do you want? Can I get you something? Hey, how are you? Can I help you in any way, since you took all this trouble to try to communicate through this human's body? You must have something really important to say. Yeah, they never do that, do they? My priest friend, he had to leave. I wanted to stay and sit with the girl for a little while, so I was just a sitter. And a nurse was there. She checked in about twice an hour. I sat there for a long time just thinking. At first I thought, why is Jeff bringing me in on this? He knows I'm an atheist. I was started to get sort of the assumption that Jeff was maybe trying to convert me, but hey, here's a unusual case. It's hard to explain. It must be a real demon possession, so therefore, believe in God, right? I don't think this will work, though, because, the fact that I had no assumptions helped me out in this case. So after a couple hours, I was just sitting there eating some powdered donuts, drinking my coffee. And finally, the girl sat up and spoke directly to me. And this is what she said.
Where did that fucking priest go?
I didn't say anything at first, then it spoke again.
I know there's someone else here. Can't you fucking speak? Are you fucking terrified and shitting yourself?
I didn't want to be rude, so I said, Hi.
What's your name?
Oh, my name's Mooney.
Oh, are you another fucking priest, asshole?
Oh, no, I'm not a priest. I'm not even a Christian, actually.
So what the fuck are you here for?
Oh, I'm actually good friends with your exorcist.
Your friend is an asshole.
Well, sorry. Is there anything I can do for you? You seem to be under some stress.
Finally, someone who's willing to listen. Hey, I have an idea for a stand-up comedy routine. I need someone to write this shit down.
I didn't know what to think at first, but I pulled out my laptop and started writing. Flibvostakarikos, the name of the demon, rattled off about 2 hours worth of comedy material. I recognized some of the words from my priest friend's recount of some of the filthy things he was saying about Ian McClellan and leaning into hand jobs and other filth. But they were just jokes. Flibvostokarikos was just trying to get his jokes out there. But the Catholic Church is there every time, and they keep them from spreading anything. This Flibvostokarikos just had a comedy routine he'd been working on, and he wanted to get it out there. That's all. So I wrote down the jokes, and by the time my friend Jeff got back, the demon was totally gone, and the girl was perfectly fine. Jeff asked how I got rid of the demon. I said I just agreed that with the demon that you're an asshole for treating him like shit, and then he left. Guess he took credit at the Elks Lodge after party. That's right. The priest and the Catholic Church. Of course they wouldn't want to admit what really happened. An atheist outperforms an ordained priest at an exorcism? Ha!
All right, that was it for me. Thanks, Kansas City. This is Mooney D. Later.
Ladies and gentlemen, Worm Dirt.
Ready, Jimmy?
In heaven, who works his callous hands on the cornfields of dusty Kansas, The cows have a soul lick, I have my guitar pick, and I ain't cutting, Who found the socks that were blown off and the dust both on sometime in 1931?
USA Nationalism presents Celebrity Voices of Nationalism. President Donald Trump.
I just wanted to tell everyone, thank you for the support. We got rid of all the Muslims.
Reverend Jesse Jackson.
I've never supported apartheid. But this current predicamentation, brought on by the evils of Islam, is perpetuated by their own indignity.
Martha Stewart.
Hello, I'm Martha Stewart. I've put together a special nationalistic Thanksgiving package. Simply boil the bags and serve. Go America.
Mike Tyson.
Yeah, this is Mike Tyson, and I support all people who like Muhammad Ali but hate Muhammad, the Prophet. Support me, I'm Mike Tyson. I'll punch you in the face if you're Islamic.
Former President Obama. Former President Obama? We should think about not totally killing Muslims. Truman Capote.
Hi, I'm Truman Capote. One thing you don't know about me, I'm fiercely patriotic. Get me on the end of a gun and watch me go.
International student from China.
Hello, I'm an imported student from China. I'm not Muslim. You won't kill me, will you?
Mike Tyson.
Hey, Mike Tyson. You're a really cute little Chinese girl. I'll protect you, long as you're not Muslim.
International student from China.
Oh, no. I said I'm not Muslim.
Mike Tyson.
Okay, I'll protect you. Come here. I'll protect you real good with my fists. Don't let me accidentally hit you, though. It'll be your fault, though, if you do.
Martha Stewart.
This is Martha Stewart. Today we're going to feature a cornucopia of Christian themes and a cornucopia of Muslims in hell.
Don Knotts.
Oh, come on, Andy. Let me shoot him in the head. I'm getting out of here.
Ponder this. Ponder this.
Ponder this. Do the dregs come from mothers with deviled eggs? Lawnmower Symphony. Sounds like one big layer. A continuous mow job until night, the delayer. Sleep now, tall socks. Off with you, grass slayer. Winter saw the summer plummet. We call this the fall. Hidden junkie, sleeping dragon. This might explain the wagon your lover has become. A chicken dilettante, one of those who never made it to the other side of the road. Anxiety spurts when the mind thinks of finishing on time. Discipline can never live up to genius unless your genius is meager. She left one superstition, calls it a lie. She ran to another mission, now stares at the sky. I wonder if sorcerers have science envy. Ponder this. Ponder this. Ponder this.
The humanity of it all.
All of us need to remember you.
The humanity all with Professor Mooney D.
It's the only show I listen to during tea. Would you be with Derry and put the kettle on?
Mr. Defensive and the Demon.
Fuck you, and fuck your birthday party. Hey, there's something I've been wanting to talk to you about. Now listen really close. Don't interrupt me, okay? But I want you to respond to this, but don't interrupt me in the middle of it and become defensive, okay?
Wait a minute. How do I know when to respond so as not to...
See, you're already doing it.
Well...
You're already becoming defensive, and I haven't even said it yet.
No, wait. No, I want to make sure I followed your direction to the T. How do I know you're done so I can respond?
Well, it's like a normal conversation. When I stop talking, it's time for you to respond. Don't interrupt me, in other words.
Okay, I'm not defensive. Go ahead.
Okay, good.
I won't be defensive.
Okay, I'm going to throw a couple of punches at your face just to make sure you're not defensive, okay?
What, you expect me not to protect myself?
I don't know. Are you defensive?
When I'm being attacked, yes.
Okay, well, you sound pretty defensive right now.
Well, yeah, I'm preparing myself mentally for the physical attack.
See, that's how you become defensive, is you're always preparing for, like, being attacked.
Oh, okay, let's just back up here. Go ahead and ask me ask the question and... Yeah.
It's not a question, it's just something I wanted to point out about you.
Oh, okay, well, point away.
And I feel like you'll just interrupt me and get defensive, so don't be defensive.
Nope, my lips are sealed. Go ahead.
Okay. And I was just gonna, like, punch you in the face or try to kick you in the balls to see if you're still defensive.
What?
See? Just that one sound tells me you're defensive. What?
Well, no, I mean, I thought you were going to tell me something, but then you went on and...
Yeah.
And
you're interrupting me again.
Well, because you get ready to attack me, and I'm trying to figure out why you, like, punching me in the balls. You're punching me in the balls. You're not attacking me by punching me in the balls.
I swear to God, you don't even remember things right. I said punch you in the face
or kick you in the balls. I'm not going to punch you in the balls. You think I'm like a barbarian?
Well, excuse me. Well, I got so, like traumatized by the idea of being punched in the face and kicked in the balls, I forgot the actual order of sequential...
See what I'm saying? Like, I haven't even done it, and you're already defensive about it.
Okay, I promise. I will not interrupt you for any reason at all. Please, proceed.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to point out that you are really shitty.
What?
See, you're already getting defensive, and I haven't even finished my sentence.
Well, I mean, you call me shitty. I mean, how else am I supposed to respond to that? That's hurtful.
I didn't finish my sentence.
Okay. I retract the fact that I was going to interrupt you. I will not interrupt you.
Okay. You sure? You sure you're not going to be defensive?
I feel like I'm going to, regretting my answer, but yes, I'm sure.
Okay. You are you are shitty. At gymnastics. And I just wanted to point that out. The other day we were playing around and you tried to do a cartwheel and you said, "Hey, look at me, I'm a gymnast." Okay, you can respond now.
Wait, back this truck up.
See, you're defensive.
I don't care. At this point, I need to interject right here. I'm confused. I don't know when to respond. I don't know when to be defensive or not defensive, for that matter.
See, you're being defensive. Let's try it again on a totally different subject, okay?
Am I going to be shitty?
Nope.
Okay.
You actually have a chance to redeem yourself.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, good. Okay, I'm ready. Lips are sealed. I'm ready. Go.
Okay. I need to borrow $1,000. Yeah. See, you can be cool about it if you want. You can be the good guy this time. You know what I'm saying?
Wait. Oh, I see. Oh, you're trying to pigeonhole me into this corner, so I have no choice other than...
No, what I'm saying is your defensiveness puts you in the corner, and if you lend me this money, this $1,000, you're going to be free. You're going to be a free pigeon. You're going to be a turtle dove.
Yeah. So I have to give you $1,000 just to redeem myself? Are you fucking kidding me?
I'll pay you back, dude. Come on.
Okay. 100, 2, 3, 4, 5, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1,000. This doesn't seem right. This doesn't... I feel manipulated.
No, I think you're really cool now, actually.
Really?
Yeah, dude. This changes everything.
So, I'm no longer a shitty gymnast?
Do you want to be a gymnast?
Well, it's something that I've always dreamed about, so yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, I didn't know that. That's awesome, dude.
Well, why do you think I got that picture of Mary Lou Retton up on my wall over there?
Oh, I thought you were just into little girls.
I mean, she's an adult,
Now?
What? Just because that was when she was... here's $1,000. I'll give you $1,000. Here's another $1,000. Don't tell anybody about that, okay?
Yeah, dude. Okay. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, what?
I feel like we're really close now, man.
Yeah,
I feel like you're really smart, and I don't know, I really value everything you say.
Really, yeah. You're not going to say anything about the Mary Lou thing, are you?
Nah, man. Of course not. Why would I do that to you? You're the shit, man.
Huh?
You're the shit, you know what I'm saying?
Wait a minute, I'm confused now. You said I'm shitty, but now I'm the shit. Oh, I get it.
Yeah, man. You know what that means? That means that you're like, to me, you're like my best friend.
Yeah, top dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so...
Exactly, dude.
$2,000. You don't say anything about the fact that I have a rather young Mary Lou Retton on the wall here. And we're okay? We're cool?
You are. I don't know if I am. Am I cool?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because you're going to keep mums about the Mary Lou thing, right?
Oh, yeah. No one's going to care about that, man. It's just a poster.
Yeah, but, it's kind of cute.
Do you need to give me some more money?
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like you really feel better if you give me some money. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It just...
Yeah.
If it makes it better, then makes it better, right?
It's like a rush of endorphins. So here.
Oh, that's cool. All right.
Here's a check. How about we just completely tie this all together in a nice little package here? What do I write into the amount here? 5,000? 10,000?
You don't have 10,000 in your account, do you, man?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah, I've been saving it for 30 years.
Oh, man.
Busted my ass.
Whatever you feel like would make you feel freed up, you know? Whatever would free you up. You know, you like Jesus, right?
Who's that?
Some Jewish guy that lived a long time ago, and he was like, you really want to be happy and go to heaven? Then give away everything to someone
was that
like me.
Was that the guy in The Hobbit?
I don't remember. Sounds right.
Yeah, because I thought that guy like wrote the book like in the 80s or something like that.
Oh, that's why the hair was all long and stuff.
Right. It got like twigs in it and stuff, like really disarray. Okay, so here's the deal here. I'll give you my Mary Lou Retton poster and...
No, I don't want that, man.
$50,000. Why not? It was signed by her. Yeah, it was signed by her. She autographed it for me.
All right. Sounds like a good eBay sell. Well, I guess I could take that off your hands. It'll be, I don't know. I'll have to keep it hidden so no one, thinks I'm into that sort of thing, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I really appreciate this donation you're giving to me,
Well, yeah.
I put so much of my own self at stake here. I could lose my job at the gas station. I could be blacklisted from other gas stations.
So, how would you like to sleep with my wife?
I've tried it already.
What?
I have tried it.
Okay, when you say tried, you mean like you attempted to do it, but you failed at it?
Yeah.
Or, she turned you down?
No, well, I mean, kinda. I mean, I couldn't get it up, so I guess you could say she turned me down.
You couldn't get it?
Yeah, dude.
She's beautiful. She's a fucking supermodel. You couldn't get it up with her?
Yeah.
Oh, man, you need some more money. You need to go get this checked out. Here's another $50,000. Here. I'll write the check out right here. Here we go.
Well, I think it's because we were doing a bunch of blow at the time. When I do a bunch of blow, like with your wife, I can't do anything else. I usually have to watch her do stuff, Hey,
honey. I don't know where she's at. Have you seen my wife? She's like,
Yeah, she says she's avoiding you.
Yeah.
Sucks being rich, I guess, living in a big house.
I can't help to notice, though, that the front of your chest is rippling. Like, there's something underneath it. It's like, what is that? I mean, here, lift your shirt up. Oh my God, it's like a face trying to come out of your chest. It's like, oh God, it's like that episode from The Alien. Dude, are you okay? Are you feeling okay?
Yeah, man, that's my demon.
So you don't have an inner child, you have an inner demon?
Yeah, he wanted to meet you face to face. He wanted to say something to you.
Oh, let me guess, he wants to borrow his money too.
I don't know. I don't speak for him. You want to talk to him?
No, I gotta put my kid to bed.
Oh, you scared?
What?
You want me to put him away?
Well, away in the sense that I'm putting it to bed.
No, I mean, you want me to, my demon. You want me to button my shirt back up, put the demon away? You're the one who wanted to see it. You thought it was some big rippling pecs, but you saw a demon face instead. So now all of a sudden you're going to put your son to bed.
I didn't want to see it. I just couldn't help. I couldn't help but not to see it. It was like, just there. And then my son needs to go to bed, so I needed to, do my parental duty here and put my son to bed. But if my wife was around, she could do it. Honey, where are you?
Oh, I'll do it.
Honey!
I'll do it for you.
No, I don't trust you, man.
Oh, man. The demon is really good at singing children to sleep.
No, I mean, if you were going to actually take my Mary Lou Retton poster, then I don't trust you around my son.
See, I figured that would look bad. That's why I said keep the poster.
Yeah, but then I would look bad.
Yeah, but that's why you paid me to take the poster, so why should you look down on me?
I'm the one who took your money.
Yeah, but I gave you the money so I could absolve myself of, what could potentially be deadly reputation,
Oh, yeah. That's fine then. Yeah. You've been treating me a lot different since you found out I had a demon.
Yeah, well, I just want to watch what I say and step lightly, because I don't know if that demon is a nice person or a bad person.
Sounds like you've heard a bunch of stereotypes, kind of like people who are racist,
What? You mean, are you saying that if I don't like your demon, I'm somehow racist?
Well, you don't even know my demon, and you're already assuming all these things based on your general impression of demons.
Well, I read the Bible, and the Bible says, all this stuff about demons is pretty bad, and you're supposed to believe in the Bible, right? So I believe in the Bible, so if the Bible says it's bad, then it's bad, so I stay away from it.
Well, the Bible discriminates against demons, like it discriminates against homosexuals and, women having power in the family, and...
Yeah.
It's okay with slavery and prostitutes, though.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I know, we all know, where discrimination began. It began right in that so-called holy book.
That's what the demon's been telling me.
Yeah, but see, then there's some discrepancies there, because in the Bible, apparently, you're not supposed to hear, rather, you're not supposed to listen to demons, because they'll lead you astray. They'll lead you away from the light of God.
Yeah, but they got the idea of the demon from the ancient Greeks, and every ancient Greek thought they had a demon, which was their higher self.
Yeah.
Trust me, the Bible is just one slanted view.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you, but it's been around for so long. There's got to be something right about it,
Yeah, but there's stuff that is a lot older that has other interpretations of demons.
Oh, yeah, you're referring to, what, the Old Testament?
Yes, but, they didn't go on and on about demons like the New Testament did. They're just fallen angels.
Hey, honey, where are you? I need to call the police. My wife...
Hey, where'd my demon go? My demon's gone. Hey, look at my chest. His face is totally gone. My normal chest is there.
Your normal chest is there?
Yeah, my normal-looking chest without the demon face in it.
Yeah, even your breasts are gone. How'd that happen?
That's part of the demon face. It has a titty on each side.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking outlandishly wild and wicked.
Oh, okay.
So wait a minute. I sense a coincidence here. There's like, my wife is missing, and then all of a sudden your demon
and my demon is missing. Ah, shit.
What?
I think my demon has a thing for your wife.
What?
Yeah, and if she gets pregnant, it only takes 24 hours to give birth to a demon baby.
Wait a minute. I thought the demon was well aware, thou shalt not covet, what was that, your neighbor's wife or something?
Yeah, I guess that doesn't apply to demons, though.
Oh, man. Oh, man. I gotta call the cops. Hello, cops? My wife is missing, and I believe she was abducted by a demon. No, I've not been drinking. No, I'm serious. My wife is missing, and she's been inducted to the Hall of Fame. Yes.
Hey, Jerry, my demon's back.
Oh, it's back. Never mind. Have a nice day. Okay, where's my wife? Hey, demon, where's my wife?
I thought you didn't want to talk to me. What do you have to say to me?
Give me my wife back, please.
I don't have your wife.
But you don't?
I was just with your wife, though.
Was she any good?
What do you mean?
Well, was she good?
Was she well-mannered?
Just spit it out, man. Tell the demon head what you're trying to say. He doesn't understand your metaphors.
Okay. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, he probably used a very archaic language and symbolism and stuff like that. Okay, demon, how do I address you? A demon, or just Mephistopheles, or the Jizzlebug, or what?
Those are specific names of specific demons, dude.
Okay, how about I'll call you Roger. Okay, hey Roger, did you bang my wife?
How dare you?
What?
We got together to plan your birthday party.
What?
And you accuse me of having sex with your wife just because I'm a demon.
What? Well, I mean, I did,
That's racist, sir.
Well, yeah.
That's racist, sir.
Okay, I
fuck you, and fuck your birthday party. Fuck you.
No. Hey,
he's gone,
Joe,
man.
Help me here.
He left. You pretty much pissed him off, dude.
Hey, come on back.
He's really sensitive, man.
Joking. God damn it.
He wanted to meet you because you're my old friend, and then you treat him like he's some subhuman or something.
Demon? Well, I mean, come on. I guess that's why stereotypes are so deadly, because you have a preconceived notion of something.
That's right.
And you're wrong.
That's right, and I think that's a lesson for everyone out there.
It is.
What have you learned today?
What have I learned today?
Yes, what have you learned today?
I have learned that I'm not going to read the Bible anymore.
Exactly. Demon 1, Bible 0.
Have a nice day.
Mr. Defensive and the Demon.
Fuck you, and fuck your birthday party.
Brought to you by Illuminati International.
You have no power.